Welcome to Fan Counters. My name's Nick.
And I'm Elizabeth.
And today on the show, we've got another great guest, but we've got two guests in front of us right now that we want to do first.
We do. We have my babies in the studio today, Oliver and Lily.
And they've never been on the show before, so.
They have not, no.
But you've been talked about a lot.
Yes, you have.
So, you want to say hi to everybody and say your name?
Hello.
Hi.
I'm Oliver.
I'm Lily.
Awesome. And what grade are you going into, Oliver?
7th.
4th.
And Lily's going in 4th. Awesome. Okay, so I'm not going to take credit for this segment because last night when I was driving home from one of my jobs, I heard this on the radio. This is radio personality named Kim Commando. Have you heard of her before?
No.
She is a technology guru,
Okay.
and they were playing old sounds that are now extinct
Sure.
to see if anybody remembered them.
Okay.
So I thought it would be fun with your kids here today to play the sounds for them, and we'll see if you can identify the sounds.
Okay.
You want to try it out?
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
Typewriters.
Typewriter.
Ooh, very good. Okay.
Call.
The hang up
Yeah,
sound from the phone.
Ooh, yeah, that's a dial tone.
Yeah.
We don't hear those very often anymore because the
We do
cell
on our
phones.
phone, though.
Oh, you have a home phone?
We do have a home phone.
Oh, you're ancient. Holy cow. This is going to be a fun one for your mom.
I know what that is.
Printer sounds.
Really? You knew that?
Oliver is very smart with these things.
That's crazy. Did you know that this is a printer, Lily?
That's a dot matrix printer.
Now, you're going to like this. So that dot matrix printer prints lines like this way, and then it goes and starts over, right? So somebody made the dot matrix printer do a song. Now, see if you can, Elizabeth, you might see if you can identify the song. It's coming up. Hold on. This is on
Oh, I know it.
Yeah, you do? Do you know the name?
It goes
Wait.
dun dun dun.
Yeah.
Wait.
Do you remember what movie it's from?
Madagascar.
How about Rocky?
Yes, it's in Madagascar. You are correct. But it's originally in Rocky.
Oh, that's funny.
Eye of the Tiger.
So somebody created this on the dot matrix printer.
Isn't that funny?
All right, enough of that. How about this one? Can you get this one?
A car.
No, it's the sound from when you do a tape on the old video players for the screens at movie theaters.
Yes, you are a smart boy.
See, I would have said lawnmower
Oh no, because remember when you go to the movies in the past,
in the projector.
you'd be able to hear because all the
Yeah,
movies were on film. Now they're all digital. You don't hear that anymore.
Right.
Oh, that's
Printer.
You know what it is.
What is that sound, Lily? Get really close and tell us. You know what that is? It's a telephone, a rotary telephone where you had to put your finger in the hole.
Like the brown one in the
Oh,
playroom.
I remember when you had to do the hole and then it would go back
Yeah,
and
that's
forth.
what it sounded
That's
like.
what the sound is.
All right, before we get to our guests, we got 3 more. Here we go. We'll do them quick. Sounds.
The same phone.
You'd think, right?
Yeah.
So
Printer, though.
there was discs that were 3.5-inch floppy disks, and you put them into a disk drive on a computer, and when they were reading the disk, it would spin like that.
Oh, see, that sounds like a printer to me too.
Okay, this is the fun one. This is how we used to. Well, I'll tell. I shouldn't say that.
Phone dialing.
Right, but what's coming up next? Have you heard this sound before?
It's connecting to the phone cable, I think. Wait, that's on Google Translate. That's the exact sound that put no, Google something. Google.
Well,
some-
Oliver, that is the dial-up internet sound. So when your mom and I were in the 90s, way back when, and we were dialing to the internet, we had to use the phone line to get on the internet.
Yeah.
And it would make that noise to connect. And it was like
Cool.
awful. And then if somebody picked up the phone to make a call and didn't know you were online, they'd kick you offline. It was not fun. All right, here's the last one.
Is it gonna be hard?
It's a noise we don't hear very often anymore because everything is digital. So think of that.
Static.
Static
Static.
when?
It's
When the movie would go offline.
I know
Kind of like when they try to do the cable thing, and like when we turn to a cable that's offline, then it would make that sound when it had
What do you
static
think
in
it
the
is?
background.
It's like the thing that's like on top. It's the thing that's like on top of the TV when they're doing a warning.
The router.
A practice warning.
Oh, you're talking about the emergency weather system thing. You're close. You were right. It is TV static. But most of the time
the
it was the
router.
TV would go off the air. That channel wouldn't play 24 hours, and that's what would happen afterwards.
All right. Very cool. Thanks, guys, for joining us. We're going to get to our guests this week.
Okay.
Say goodbye.
Bye.
All right. Moving on for the show today. That was a ton of cuteness.
Oh, thanks.
Well, they're playing behind us, so hopefully you might hear them during the show. Hopefully not.
We're sorry.
Today, we're going to talk to a second North Carolina resident who moved to Los Angeles. She now stars on a hit television series. You know, a few weeks ago, we had Leah DeLeon Hayes, who is the voice of Doc McStuffins. She was on the show. She was from North Carolina, moved to the West Coast. So we're going to do it again. This week on the show, Lexi DiBenedetto joins us. She's currently starring on the new Nickelodeon series Night Squad, focusing around a group of friends protecting each other's secrets while pursuing their dreams at a magical school for knights in training.
Lexi has also been on Grey's Anatomy and Modern Family, as well as her breakout performance headlining in a short film, Love Is All You Need, which has over 10 million views on YouTube.
That's amazing. I can't get anything to go viral on there. I've tried.
I do at least know what it is.
Good.
Today, Lexi is going to talk to us about how the cast and crew bring Night Squad to life. And I'm curious to find out about the training she goes through for the preparation of her role. I've seen, some previews of it. Lily watches some of it. So
really? Okay.
Yeah, she does. So I have some sort of idea. But yeah, I'm excited.
Cool. All right, here we go.
Coming to you from nowhere near the entertainment capital of the world, this is Fan Counters with Nick and Elizabeth on the Podfix Network.
There was this mob of people, and they're screaming my name.
Crazy fans.
Stop following me. Don't come around my house. If you do, the cops are going to be at yours. If I'm having dinner with my wife, don't sit down at my table. Don't follow me into the bathroom.
I continually will get stopped.
Can I take a picture? We're going to, oh my God.
I think this guy wants to fight me. Ended up being a fan.
I'm the only one that's ever been on Sam Jackson and lived to tell about it.
That's why we call it Fan Counters.
I don't think you're going to last on the air very long.
Lexi, welcome to Fan Counters. Thanks for being here.
Hey guys, thanks for having me.
You bet. Now, we mentioned in our opening that you're originally from North Carolina. So we're always kind of curious when people make their leap and go to LA. When did that happen for you?
I was about 11 when my family moved to Los Angeles, but my mom and I came out first, and then my dad followed after kind of selling things out of the house and preparing.
Like products out of the house, or you're selling your furniture?
Like furniture.
Okay.
Now, are you an only child? There were no siblings that came?
No, just me and my dog.
Okay.
He was like a sibling, but I'm an only child.
And did they move because of your aspiring career?
It was kind of, my family was ready for a change, but we were trying to pick the best place to live, and we each picked a piece of paper and put down 3 things that we wanted, and LA kind of fit at least 2 out of 3 from everybody's list.
Oh, fantastic.
That's kind of a neat way to decide where
Look at
your
that.
next adventure is.
That nice little family meeting that worked.
I think that was, my mom is wonderful at planning and organizing.
Okay.
So she was able to really, I think from the time I was young, my parents really included me in all the family decisions and treated me kind of like an adult,
Nice.
which I appreciate.
Now, we've got a lot to talk to you about, but last night I watched your breakout role in the short film Love Is All You Need, where they kind of turn the societal tables, where being gay is what's common and accepted, being heterosexual makes you the outcast who's open to some harassment and that kind of thing. Very interesting premise for a film. I liked it very much. Can you tell us how you got involved with that project?
Yes, that was quite unexpected. It started off on a much smaller scale. I think when you're doing a project, you never quite know where it's going to go in the moment. You just kind of have to show up and do your best. So I just had an audition for it and really thought that it was powerful and wanted to do it. And I was fortunate enough to, get the part. And then it didn't even become viral as a video until a few years after we had done it. So you really don't expect it. It came out of nowhere.
So you were
Yeah,
young
but
when
I-
you played this role. How old were you?
I was 11. It was the first thing I booked out here, I think, other than a commercial.
Oh my gosh. It features a scene where you're called names, punched in the face by an older boy, kicked by your peers. It's a pretty intense experience for a young girl. Was this role, did your parents talk to you about it prior to doing it? Like, obviously they believed you were mature enough to do it. It's a kind of a heavy
Yes.
role.
It's very heavy, absolutely. I think I've always been very drawn to drama from the time I was, even younger, and just the things that I wanted to audition for. And I always wanted to understand other people's lives. And I think my mom and dad always knew that. So when this came along, they did talk to me about, how I felt and if I wanted to do it, if I understood it entirely. And I did. And I just felt like the story needed to be told, and they supported me in that.
Well, we've had on the show someone from Love, Simon, which is a movie that's out now.
Yes.
And it actually
I love Simon.
It kind of has a little spoof of that in the middle of it, where they make kind of a joke where the kids come and tell their parents that they're straight, and their parents just flip out because they're not gay. But they did it in a very humorous way, as opposed to a little bit heavier than the one you did.
Did you feel like that film changed you as a person at all, even at that young age?
Absolutely. I think just to really hear real life stories, because, the director and, she, I think, struggled with bullying as well. And it was also, for me, I think it was more about bullying as well. You couldn't just, it was, the story was about reversing the world, but it also had an underlying tone of bullying in general. And you just kind of hear when people open up about what they've been bullied about, how absurd it all is. Mm-hmm. People have been bullied because of their hair color. And you're like, are you kidding me?
Right. Yeah. Like I could change
it's
that.
It's absurd.
Okay, so moving from your first project to your current one, let's talk about your current character in the show. You play the role of Prudence on Nickelodeon's Night Squad. Tell us a little bit about your character on the show and what makes her special in relationship to her friends. Now, we had on the opening my 8-year-old daughter, Lily, and she has seen the show. So I have seen some as I walk from room to room.
Sounds good. Well, it's very different from Love Is All You Need.
Yes.
And I love Prudence. Actually, Prudence is a quarter giant on her mother's side, so she has giant strength. They don't play up the giant height, which I think people are like, when I first got it, they were asking me if I was going to be put on a green screen or wear stilts or something, but it's just, we play on giant strength. But she also has a very big heart.
Okay.
And I really like that Prudence is kind of the peacemaker. She always wants to fix problems and she wants her friends to be happy.
This must come up during the show because you talk about the fact that you're like Prudence and the fact that you like to eat. So is there eating? Like, are there jokes about eating going on with Prudence's character?
Yes, just about every episode, because she has giant strength, and she has to have giant meals to keep up her strength. So there's always some kind of massive food item, whether it's a bucket of French fries or a massive chicken leg. And the chicken or it was a turkey leg, sorry.
Turkey leg, yeah.
But our director, Trevor, to get the shot, actually sat on the floor, and I pretended like I was eating the turkey, and he threw turkey meat up at my castmates.
Oh,
so it looked like I was ravishing this turkey leg, and it was going everywhere.
I love the behind the scenes stories like that.
I do too. I think that's cute. I'm going to watch that episode. I'm going to try to find that episode now.
We've asked other actors the same question, but because Night Squad has some really unique costume choices for the cast, have you or your castmates ever had one of those, oh my gosh, I cannot believe I have to wear this on TV, moments before you're filming?
Yeah, definitely. But they've all been really fun. I think I can go through all of them because I think all of the episodes with the most bizarre costumes have aired. Okay. So the first one, I think, was the second episode. I was a Basquatch, which is a creature that's half bass and half Sasquatch, like a fish.
Oh, like the fish bass?
No way.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was that was a full-on, like, fluffy camouflage grass-looking suit with fish feet, hands, and a fish head. And that was great. And the funniest part about that is I looked ridiculous, but it was the most comfortable thing that I've worn on the show. It was amazing. I had on like leggings and a t-shirt under this big fluffy suit. And our sound stages are always freezing. So I was like, hey, I'll be a Basquatch any day.
A Basquatch.
And then I had on a bubble, which was really fun.
Yes, I've seen the bubble pictures in the blue thing of surrounding you. And it almost looked like you were going to do some fighting or something with that.
Yes. Well, I didn't fight in that. However, Warwick and Prudence have a scene where we do fight, and we're wearing giant cards of ourselves, like styrofoam boxes almost. But what it is that we were trading cards, like people, collect baseball cards, and that we had trading cards. And as a cruel prank to get the most popular card that Sage and Buttercup had in their possession, Sage makes us fight for it, but wearing giant cards of our own faces. So that was very interesting.
Weird. So there's quite a bit.
Very weird.
There's quite a bit of action sequences and physical fighting scenes. Now we'd love to hear about some of the training that goes on to create those exciting sequences.
Well, we have an extremely talented stunt coordinator, Josh Tessier, and he I think, he reads the script with all of us, and there's a fight scene every week. So we have stunts every week for almost every character, but if not all, we have one for at least Ark, because his character always flips off of something.
Okay.
So Josh gets the script, and as we're rehearsing and blocking, he kind of figures out where the stunt should go, like he's choreographing a dance.
Okay.
So then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, if we have stunts, and if we need a stunt double, our stunt doubles will come in, and they'll learn the fights and then teach us the fights, and then we'll do as much as we can, and then our stunt doubles will take over when we can't. So my stunt double is Caitlin Brooke, and she's phenomenal. And I think she teaches me a lot of the actual hammer combat, and I get to do those. But then in the most recent episode that aired this Saturday night, I get thrown into a big crate and it shatters on the floor. So then Caitlin obviously steps in and she puts on braces and she takes that amazing fall for me.
Okay.
Nice. So how good, there's lots of talk on the internet about this skill that you're acquiring of throwing knives. So since that's been a while, how good are you at throwing knives?
I'm very accurate on where I'm aiming. I'm not as consistent as I want to be as when it actually goes in the tree yet.
Okay.
So,
okay.
Because I'm throwing at a tree. So it's progress, because before, I would just kind of throw it and it wouldn't even go where I was aiming, which is terrifying. So now it goes where I'm aiming. Just I haven't mastered the feel of the rotation so that it goes in every time.
And these are knives, not axes.
They're not axes, although my father just bought an axe. So now we have an axe.
She'll be in the backyard practicing later this afternoon.
Well, we're in Wisconsin, and we actually have bars that are open that axe throw. Like, you can go to the bar. Like dart tournaments, there are actual axe tournaments in bars. It's like a bowling alley, but it's not. It's a big old target full of, axe holes because people have thrones on it. That's a very bad word.
That sounds amazing, though. That sounds amazing.
Hey, well, welcome to Wisconsin.
I mean, I don't know if I'd want to mix that with alcohol, though.
Well, that's what I said. I said, who put this in a bar?
That would worry me.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
So
maybe in the side of a bowling alley, as a sideshow, but not with alcohol.
Yeah. So I can see this show as changing the lives of girls to make them believe that they can do anything. Do you see any possibility, or do you experience any girls yet coming up to you telling you that you've changed their lives in any way?
Yes, I think as a cast, as the females on the cast, we all kind of get told, especially, Danny, there are a lot of girls who couldn't see themselves in other princesses because predominantly they've been Caucasian, which is very sad because we're such a diverse country and world. There are so many people out there, and they're very underrepresented. So I'm just really excited that our show has women that little girls can look up to and see themselves in. So that's been really exciting. And it was my favorite part of the show when I first read it, because I immediately was reading the script and I was like, every single girl in this script has a fight scene.
That's pretty
and
awesome.
It was very exciting.
Yeah, Elizabeth having an 8-year-old. I have twin 6-year-olds, so, we're always excited when, the girls are represented in powerful roles and not just these dainty princesses and that kind of thing. So it's exciting to see that.
And to show that you can do both.
Well, and Lily happens to be of mixed race, and I know that when when Meghan, she's not a princess apparently, when Meghan Markle got married, it was a big deal in our house because that was the first actual real life non-white as a ghost royal. That it gives her hope that there are different diversities and different colors out there that can be successful and still pull off what you want to be.
Absolutely, and she's intelligent and beautiful on the inside and out, and it's just so important. Because I remember when I was little, I liked Rapunzel, which wasn't even a Disney film yet. It was just the story of Rapunzel, but they always mentioned that she had green eyes with blonde hair, and that was why I liked her better than the other blonde princesses, was because she had my eye color too. So I'm sitting here thinking, being older now, like imagine if they didn't look like you at all, if you couldn't pick out a feature from a princess at all, and it's just, I'm really happy to see that there's a slow change happening.
Yeah,
definitely. Now,
it could be faster, but it's on its way.
I'm curious to find out how long it takes you guys to film an episode and what a normal week is like for you.
It takes us a week to film an episode, and we usually get the script Sunday night. Sometimes, if we're lucky, we get it Friday or Saturday, but usually Sunday nights. And then we read it, and we go in at 9 a.m. for a table read with the acting coach on set, and then we go in and do another table read with everybody. And the room with our producers and writers, director, and I think sometimes we have some network executives. And then we rehearse after that all day Monday. And then Tuesday we come in, and Monday night they do changes. So after the table read, they try to find which jokes could be rewritten to be a little bit more funny, or if something doesn't make sense, they kind of see where awkward pauses are. And, it's our job to be as prepared as possible so that if something is off, it's not because we ruined it. It's because it just needs to be changed. So we go in and we just try to be as prepared as possible so that they can see a clear view of the episode and the storyline. And then they make changes Monday night. And then we come in Tuesday and we rehearse all day and do a run through for producers, which we basically put it up in chronological order, going from set to set, like the different sets for rooms, so that the producers can see it kind of like a play. And that's sometimes nerve-wracking when we have fights, because you want to showcase the fight, but you obviously have just learned it. So, and a lot of times we have scripts in our hands. So you're trying to wield a hammer or a sword with a script in your hand, but you also want the producers to be able to see what the fight is going to look like, so that they can make changes again Tuesday night, and then Wednesday morning we rehearse again, and then we show it to producers and network. And then they make more changes Wednesday night, and then Thursday, Friday we film the entire episode in 2 days.
Wow.
That's a lot of pre-prep.
That's
just for
exhausting.
2 days of filming.
It's a lot. It is. You over-prepare the first 3 days so that you can cram everything in Thursday, Friday.
Oh my gosh.
How much pressure do you feel when you're on that soundstage? Producers are watching, network people and all that. You kind of would have to feel like you're being judged in a sense of your abilities. Is that ever too much to handle?
No, I don't think too much, because we have incredibly wonderful producers and executive producers. So they never make us feel like that. Run-throughs are more stressful than filming, though. I will definitely say that, because for me, I'm a perfectionist, which is something I'm working on because nobody's perfect, but it makes me feel like I should be off book and be memorized. But I know that, like, I just, have only had the script for a day, and we've been going through it, and I've also been learning stunts. But you want to get it right, and inevitably there will be stumbles, and because we've just gotten it. So I find the run-throughs to be stressful a little bit, but filming, as long as you keep things moving, filming is always a lot of fun.
So the show's been on the air since February, and you've already been at various events and appearances. What have some of the fans' reactions to the show been? I mean, what do they tell you?
Well, we went to the Kids' Choice Awards, which was my first Kids' Choice Awards, and 3 of my other castmates were up on stage presenting, and there was just a massive cheer and roar from the crowd, which was kind of incredible because we had only been airing for a few weeks, and you kind of show up wondering if people even know about the show.
I've seen it,
Yeah. So just to know that they had seen it was kind of insane to think about. So that was very exciting.
Now, you've had some awesome guest stars on the show, at least one. The American Ninja Warrior stunt actress Jessie Graff made an appearance. Can you tell us a little bit about what it was like working with her?
It was so empowering because she is so good at what she does. She's so talented. She was doing all of her own stunts, and they were insane. She was put on like a wire to flip off of our balcony with the most scary pointy weapon I'd ever seen in my life. And she just nailed it every time. And she's just a very big advocate for girls can do whatever they want, whatever you put your mind to. And it was great to be around.
Have you already been picked up for season 2?
We do not know.
Okay, so you don't know yet.
So fingers crossed.
Definitely.
Yeah, I'm hoping. I would love to do another season. I know my cast feels the same way, especially because the way that the season ends, we want a second season. It kind of leaves it open for a second season. So, you want to finish the story at least.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We here on Fan Counters are not big fans of leaving, less in the lurch. We like it wrapped up all nice and neat.
Yes.
We've talked about that
I'm like
before.
that as a viewer.
Yeah.
I want everything I want everyone to be with who we thought they were going to be with. I want everyone to get the job they wanted. I want it to be pretty. I want it to be neat, and I want it to be happy.
We just need closure, man.
Finish to
we
it.
just need some closure.
Now, I was wondering this, and you may not know, but do these sound stages stay with your sets until you find out if there's a pickup? Is everything torn down and kind of stored in the interim? I mean, how do you make sure that everything that they built for the show is still around?
They save them and break them down, because I know that when we were filming our pilot, which was almost 2 years ago now, actually, the Thundermans had not finished filming yet. So, and we used the same sound stages as the Thundermans. So they actually broke down their set and built our set, which is extremely elaborate, and then broke it all back down after our pilot and rebuilt the Thundermans.
Oh my gosh.
That seems like a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. I actually just went back to pick up a mini fridge that I left while we were filming, and they, it was all stored away, which is kind of sad, actually.
No
when
kidding.
You walk past it, I was like, "Oh, where's the princess's bedroom? Where's the tasty trunk?"
So it's like all gone. It's all packed up and in storage.
Oh yeah, I think almost like as we speak. I think they're on the last 2 days of packing it up, and then something new will probably go in, or I don't know if we hold the stages. I think that's more of a production question, and I think it also is more case by case depending on your show.
Okay.
Crazy. Now, I noticed that you have a role in a pilot called Lux in Effect. Is there anything that you can tell us about it? I mean, there's not a lot of info out there at this point.
No, there's not, and I don't think I can say much. But it was, it was a really amazing female director, Ian. So I liked working with her, and it was pretty dark. It's very dramatic, and I played a very racist, kind of bratty girl. And it was eye-opening to hear her stories, and I felt like a horrible person for playing that role, but I also wanted to bring justice to the fact that she needed to be very nasty for the story to work, but I felt like an awful human being.
Oh, those are the ones we go home and shower after.
Yeah, I was like, I cannot believe the words that just came out of my mouth. I need to wash it out.
Yeah.
Well, that is range for you.
Yes.
You've
So
been able
Yes,
to
and
do fun roles and
I
and then
enjoyed
this.
it. Yes.
you've had some pretty awesome experiences on several hit shows like Criminal Minds and Modern Family. And you were also on a couple episodes of Tia. Is that?
Tia Mowry.
Yeah, one of the twins.
Yeah.
Show Instant Mom, which aired on Nickelodeon. Did your appearance on
Yes.
that show have anything to do with you being on the radar for your role as Night Squad?
You know, I'm not sure because, to be honest, I've been auditioning for Nickelodeon for a while, and the casting director, Harriet Greenspan, she cast a lot of Nickelodeon. I had known her since I was 13, and I had been doing, I'd just been doing classes and working, and I would occasionally see her at auditions, and she started to know who I was. And I struggled with height being an issue for me, which is funny because I'm just under 5'9", like I'm right at 5'9".
Okay.
And that's not crazy tall by average standards, I don't think. But for some reason in the entertainment industry, it seemed like I was an actual giant. So when I was auditioning for Night Squad, I had experience in the past with her of kind of testing for other projects and going in for producers and getting the feedback that I was just too tall. So I went in and I actually read for Ciara and the princess, and she just kind of looked at me with a very sad face and was like, "I'm so sorry, babe. You're so good. I love you, but you're just too tall." She's like, "We'll find you something, but you're just too tall." And as I was walking out the door, she was like, "Lexi, wait, come back." And she was like, "I don't mean to offend you, but I just read the breakdown for the role we're casting next week, and it's a giant. Do you want to read for that?"
I know. How do you take that? Is that a good thing that someone might want you for a role, or is it a bad thing that someone just called a 5'9" girl a giant?
Yeah, I kind of look at it as I can reach things on the top shelf, and I have a job that I love. So
Yeah.
I take it as a good thing.
Score the win.
But I actually picked up the sides there and read it as a cold read, and actually kind of booked this role off of a cold read, meaning I had not prepared it. I had read the script, and I really liked Prudence, and I immediately connected with her, and so it came very naturally. And so I had my second time reading it, I just kind of put it up in front and did it for Harriet, and she was like, "Don't change a thing. I'll see you soon." And before I knew it, I was testing.
As I understand, the time between your auditions for the shows that we just mentioned were very short. Like you would audition one day and you're pretty much on set the next day or two. Is that kind of how it worked for you?
Yeah, which is surprising because it doesn't really happen that often. And for some reason, just about everyone that had callbacks the same day, I ended up booking. So I guess I work well under pressure or something, but
that's a good quality.
That was Grey's Anatomy. Yeah, it's especially for this industry. I guess it's not bad, but it was the same day for, I believe, for Criminal Minds, Grey's Anatomy, and Modern Family. I think Criminal Minds, I got called in for the callback, or maybe they just had me do it twice. I think that Criminal Minds I was already at the callback, was my first time there. And then I just booked it. And then Grey's Anatomy, they just told me to stay on the lot. They were like, "All right, our producers are coming in an hour. If you could just go to the cafe and wait, that would be great."
Wow.
And the same with Modern Family. They just kind of tell you to go grab a coffee and come back in 45 minutes.
Do you freak out each time a little bit inside when you get on one of these established shows?
Yes, definitely. But it's more of it's like excitement and butterflies.
The name of our podcast is Fan Counters, and we love hearing about our guests' experiences with their fans. And so do you have any weird or crazy or fun fan encounters that come to mind?
Yes. Well, I've had a lot of just really sweet kids come up to me that like Night Squad. I think just recently someone stopped me at the movie theaters, and it was a brother and sister, and their mom was kind of like, they wanted to ask me, but they were shy, and she was like, just ask her.
That's me. I'm that mom.
So that was really cute. But I think the one that always surprises me is people who recognize me from Grey's Anatomy. It's for some reason people recognize me the most from that and Night Squad. But before Night Squad was on, it was mainly Grey's Anatomy. And I was like, even now, it's been a few years. And I think it's because it's on Netflix that people kind of watch my season, at different times. So I was like just recently on vacation, or I guess not recently, last year. Time flies.
Yeah.
The last year I was on vacation, and I was sitting next to two brothers that were kind of embarrassed to admit that they had watched, 13 seasons of Grey's Anatomy. And so they kept looking at me really weird. And the one was like, this is really weird. And he was like, and my girlfriend watches it. And I was like, okay. And he was like trying to make it seem like it was less of his interest. But he was like, were you on Grey's Anatomy? And it was just kind of insane because I wasn't, I was only on one episode. You do a guest star on some things. And to still be recognized for that is crazy.
That is kind of silly. I mean, but Grey's Anatomy watchers, though, they tend to be very dedicated to that.
Yes.
So
yeah.
They don't forget characters. But it's actually a little funny that they would recognize you years later as, oh, you're the same person. So.
Yes. That's kind of what blows my mind. But I think also they had just watched that episode. Like you said that him and his girlfriend had just reached that season like the week before. So I guess if it's fresh in your mind. And I also had people tell me that like my voice, they kind of recognize the voice. And I have mannerisms when I speak. I guess I talk with my hands a lot. So maybe that helps put it together.
We didn't notice.
Yeah, we can see.
I'm sorry.
No, we think it's funny.
So, Lexi, sometimes in our life journey, we run into people, usually by accident, but they sometimes leave an impact on us forever. Maybe it was something that they said or something that they did. Have you had any chance encounters with anyone like that has left you with that memory?
Well, I randomly I was at a racetrack for my birthday, actually. And I randomly met a writer and creator of Baby Daddy at the time. Okay. And I had no idea. It was just him and his wife. And my family, we just kind of started talking to them because they looked like they knew what they were doing at the racetrack and knew the horses. And he helped me write a spec script, which is like a kind of if you want to be a writer, you write a spec script to showcase what you can do, I guess. Mm-hmm. So I haven't had much time, but I definitely think that writing is very interesting and creating. And he kind of helped me see that you can be a creator and you can be a writer. So I really appreciated that.
Now, we want to get into some fun things about you. You and I have something in common and something not in common at all. But as a kid, you were a member of 4-H, as was I.
And me.
Oh, you were in too?
Of course.
I did not know that.
Farm girl.
I guess I should have figured that out. But so what projects did you take in 4-H? And is that kind of where your passion started for animals?
Yes. Well, I don't know if it started there. I was always very into animals. But I loved 4-H. And that's crazy that you guys are into 4-H. It's such an amazing experience. And I think that every kid should do it or be a part of the Girl Scouts or something like that. But I raised chickens, which was something that I never thought I would do. And I actually grew up on an island in North Carolina, and you couldn't have livestock. So I raised my chickens in secret. And then
here's the chicken in my bathroom.
So once they were big enough, that they couldn't be inside our house, which was horrifying to my mother because she's a neat freak. And I say that with love because our house would be a mess if she didn't constantly remind my father and I to clean up.
Yes.
But, you know, she let the chickens live inside until they were too big. And then I had to go board them at a farm right over the bridge. So I would go visit my chickens. And she also had baby goats. So I worked with baby goats and chickens the most and really found a love for baby goats. They're kind of the best things in the world.
Aren't they? I grew up with pygmy goats, and they're just fun as heck.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yes. They're just, I mean, I do love animals, and I love farm animals. And I think, you know, sometimes people don't get the experience to spend time with any other animals other than really cats and dogs. So I also had been horseback riding prior to 4-H. So, but I had never really hung out with other farm animals, only horses. And I took some of my chickens along with an essay about my chicken to the county fair.
Yes.
And,
I was wondering if we were going to go to the fair.
And I won.
Yeah.
Yay!
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I had best in show, and I also was very into photography, and all of my photographs won. And actually, one of them ended up in, I want to say it was like Discovery. It was a calendar. I think it was like the 4-H national calendar or something like that. And
super nice.
So that was really cool. And it really showed me compassion and patience, because animals are very delicate, especially when they're babies.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think, you know, as a kid, you learn how fragile they are and how to respect them and nurture them. So I adore 4-H.
That was always one of my favorite times of the year, when the chicks and the ducks came into the elevator, and you got to go to the elevator and go pick them out. Or for those of you who don't understand that, that's the grain and feed store. And
still lost.
And there'd just be boxes and boxes of chickens and ducks, and whatever you could catch when you leaned over the side is what you took home. And my parents were, and we were like you, we raised them in the house until they were, because it was usually April or something. It's cold here in Wisconsin, and so the chickens and the ducks were always in the front hall until they got big enough to go outside. So thank you for also having chickens and ducks. But we also had a potbelly pig in the house too. And oftentimes, if someone was injured or sick or something, it was not uncommon that there was a goat in the house. People were like, you know, there's a goat in your living room. I know. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah. Well, that's funny that you say that, because a lot of people don't know this, but like for 2 months I lived in Georgia, because we thought that the commute to Atlanta was going to be the best fit for our family. And it ended up being way farther than we thought, because we like moved to Athens, and it just wasn't the right fit, which we've, you know, figured out. But for 2 months we lived in Georgia, which is colder than North Carolina in the winter, most parts. And I had bought a chicken at the county fair in North Carolina, because I volunteered with 4-H to help out with all the animals. And I had bought a chicken because she was $8, because she wouldn't mature properly. And I didn't ask my parents. You know, I had allowance and things that I would help my parents with to get paid with their job. I would help my parents like pack up packages that needed to be shipped and things like that. My mom always likes people to know that my chores were not done for allowance. They were done because I was part of the family, which I think is great.
That's how mine do them. They do them because they have a chore chart, but it's part of living in this house.
That's right. It's the privilege of being in this family.
Yes. So I bought her, and because I just thought I was like, well, she needs a home. If she's not going to mature to lay eggs, she needs a home.
Right.
And the woman was like, okay. And I was like, I'm going to buy your chicken. And the fact that she sold a chicken to an 8-year-old, I think, raises some questions on her part. But anyway, her name was Diamond. And then you guys will probably know she was a silky chicken, which are the really fluffy ones.
Yeah, we used to have silkies. Yeah.
They're incredible. And she couldn't roost because she really, really couldn't figure out life. That's why I loved her.
It's a dumb chicken. So I love those.
she was very, she'd like run to you when you went in the chicken coop, whereas all the other ones run away.
Yeah.
And she couldn't roost. So I'd have to bring her inside because it would be so cold at night that she would be too cold on the ground because she couldn't get up into the hay. So she'd come inside every night, and she sat in a basket and on my shoulder, and I could paint her toenails. Like, this chicken just was incredible. And was definitely like a second dog.
That's awesome.
How did you find out that you could paint a chicken's toenails, by the way?
It's not that hard.
The same way you find out that you can paint a dog's toenail.
Right. I was just about to say the same way you find out you can paint anything's toenail.
Well, I haven't figured out the animal
I think
toenail
the
thing.
cats, though, in your house are not going to put up with that.
Nope.
Yeah.
No,
Those are just
definitely
not.
not.
Gonna happen. But yeah,
no.
our dog would let us paint its toenails if I wanted to.
Why did you even think that was a thing? Like,
Because you're a boy. When you're a girl, it's what you do. You paint your nails. You paint your siblings' nails. For a long time, when Oliver was little, I painted his nails because I can. And because you're playing dress up or girly stuff, and hey, a chicken, they have those long little talons. It looks nice when it's painted.
It's true, and she was white, so colors really pop.
Fantastic.
That's funny. Okay, so the other thing that we don't have in common is.
But we do.
Uh-oh. You sleep with your socks on. That's so weird. Man, I have to have my bare feet sticking outside the bed to stay cold. Don't you just sweat all night then?
No.
No, I get cold very easily.
Oh my gosh.
And I don't like the way that sheets feel on my feet. Specifically. And I think that's also, I don't really like sleeping in shorts either, unless it's super hot. I usually sleep in pants, too.
See, you and I are like
Like
I
pants and
don't
socks.
like my legs touching. Even if I've just cleanly shaven, I don't want my legs touching, and I don't want my feet exposed. I might have a tank top on top, but I always have
Yes.
pants and socks on the bottom. And very rarely, do we have the air conditioning on at our house because I don't care for cold. We do have the air conditioning on now because it's like 90 with a heat index of 100 and something. But I slept still, full pants, socks. I did at one time put like some of the covers half off me, but never do I do. I mean, never. No.
Okay.
There's
Yeah.
no
And
touching.
I have 3 blankets on my bed, too.
Yeah,
but
me too.
But my mom does keep the house very cold, which, like when my parents go out of town, the first thing I do, they walk out the door, I give them kiss goodbye, I lock the door, and then I crank the AC up, as in make the temperature hotter, because I just freeze.
They're like, Lexi, why is our bill so high?
Right. Well, Mark and I fight over it all the time because if he's home, he turns that air on, and the second he walks out the door, I just turn it off. It's not even like higher temperature; it's just off. And he'll come home and go, it's a furnace in here. And I'll go, nope, we're all fine. Thanks for coming. Go stand by a fan.
I think there's also a difference, I think, too, in like being cold because the AC is on and being cold because it's cooler outside. So when you just turn it off, you kind of adjust.
Yeah.
Like I will wear sweatpants and a sweatshirt if it's cooler. Obviously in California it does not get cold, but it gets cooler. And then in the summer, I like a fan. As long as it's breezy. Like it can be 85 inside and breezy and I'm fine. But yeah, but I also help, like I pay rent because I didn't want to move out yet because I was like, that seems scary. But I also, my parents want to teach me responsibility. And so I pay rent and utilities for the apartment. So when they leave, I'm kind of like, well, it goes up on my end too.
Right. Yeah.
So like I just don't want to freeze.
Well, I completely am with you because I hate cold, and air conditioning is a very different bone-chilling cold than I can describe to anybody else. Like I just don't I don't care for it. It's not my favorite.
It's like wind. It's like when it's windy outside.
Yeah.
It's a lot harder to gauge the temperature.
Yeah. So your Twitter account shows you on several red carpets. Do you get nervous in front of all those cameras and the random questions being shouted at you?
Yes. I will not even pretend. I think red carpets are super stressful. They're fun in their own, and once you're done with the actual red carpet part, the event that happens afterwards is usually a lot of fun. But the red carpets are definitely stressful, and my publicist always laughs at me because I'm like, I don't want to do it. But she's like, well, you kind of have to.
Right.
So just go.
You walk the carpet to get to the good stuff.
Yes, and I think having a publicist kind of, she makes me feel more comfortable.
Okay.
And it's just the confidence that like there's nothing in your teeth and your lipstick looks fine.
Right.
Those kind of small things. But it's definitely like you do get there and there's a ton of cameras and people are just kind of screaming at you.
Yeah, it
there's a
looks
lot of
very
bright
out of
lights.
hand. It looks like there's no rhyme or reason as to who's screaming your name or who's screaming a question, or it just looks like I would just be.
Yes.
It's like playing a bad game of dodgeball, but it's words instead of balls.
Yes, that's actually a really good way to describe it. I think the funny thing too is when you start to recognize the photographers that come out from Getty Images or wherever they're coming from. But I know because I just did 2 events on the same night, and I showed up to the second one, and one of the guys was like, "Lexi, we just saw you at the Gracies," and I was like, "Oh, that's right." And it's kind of funny because you honestly can't even see their faces that well because the lights are so bright on you that the background kind of
just a big
blurs
blur.
out.
Yeah. Summer is officially upon us. So what are you looking forward to doing this summer?
Summer's my favorite. It's my absolute favorite season. I love being outdoors, and I love going to the beach. The beach is my favorite place. It's the most relaxing. So I'm just excited to go to the pool and to the beach, and I actually just went back home to visit my family, which is when I usually go. So that's a lot of fun. And the beaches in North Carolina are actually really gorgeous. A lot of times they make the top 10 list.
Nice.
So I've just spent like 3 weeks kind of in a calmer atmosphere on a beautiful beach.
So do you have any projects you're working on right now?
I do have a few that I can't really talk about. And then just kind of I'm trying to learn new skills, like getting better at knife throwing and getting back into some of the things that I've lost over the year from being so busy, because I do think that a big part of acting is you kind of have to be able to do everything in a weird sense.
Yeah.
They expect you to be a soccer player and a violinist at the same time.
Right.
Which I can do neither of those. But I can fake my way through
But you'll
soccer,
learn
okay,
if they make you.
And I have.
Yeah.
Yep, pretty much. I've done an intensive week of ballet with 2 classes a day because I got a producer session for a ballerina a week later, and I made it to the final round.
Nice.
So it was convincing enough, I guess. But yeah, you just kind of you make it happen. I think that's acting. They do say you fake it till you make it, and it's true. You go in and they're like, "Do you play tennis?" Of course I play tennis. Who doesn't play tennis? So that's why I get excited when it's skills I can actually do.
Nice.
I mean, I actually, with a tennis commercial, I showed up and it was at a tennis court, and I was like, "Well, this is it. This is the end."
They're never gonna hire me again. Oh, that's
and
cute.
it was, but it turned out okay. And you also that there are some things you can't fake your way through.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, I would never say that I can like do stunts on motorcycles because I really, really can't do that. And I think that's like, luckily I can horseback ride, but I always think it's funny when people kind of try to lie about horseback riding. I'm like, you do realize that if you get this, you will end up on a 1,000-pound animal.
Right. And you will be sorry about it if your bum has never been there before.
Yes. Yep.
All right. So as you look back at your life journey so far, who has been the biggest inspiration?
This question always makes me feel really cheesy, but my parents are really phenomenal people.
Okay.
They're really incredible, and I wouldn't be here without them, and I would not have the determination without them, and resourcefulness and creativity, passion. I really learned a lot from my mom and dad.
All right.
And I'm still learning.
What is the one thing people don't know about you? Something you may not even told anyone else yet. Go ahead and give us the exclusive.
I really don't know. I really like cars. I really like classic Mustangs and Broncos specifically. Like, my dream car is a 72 Bronco.
Nice.
I do. That's probably something I haven't told anyone yet.
That's cool. So before we let you go, we know that you're involved in many different charities. Which ones are you active in right now?
I still volunteer with a lot of animal shelters. So I think that's my biggest right now. Animals are I really love them. I really like to go, and especially when you do big events, I kind of make it my mission. I pick a dog, and I'm like, this dog is getting adopted today. I'm going to find this dog a home.
You are having a home today. So, so where can we find you on social media?
I'm most active on my Instagram and Twitter, which are at DiBenedetto Lexi. So just my last name and then my first name.
Okay.
And then I think I have a Facebook page as well that's kind of linked. It's not funny. I'm like, I think I have it. I think it's linked to my Instagram, so it automatically happens. So it does get the information.
Yeah,
but I check comments and things like that on Instagram and on Twitter.
Are very, very different because I understand Facebook, and every time Nick says something about we have to do Instagram or Twitter, I give him this blank look like I don't even understand that.
Well, you know what's funny is I held off on social media for a really long time. I think I love that you can talk to your fans and be supported, but I also think that sometimes people get really wrapped up in it and don't realize that it's not real life. Like, I'm even guilty of it. Like, things that I post, I'm like, people are like, oh, you're so lucky that you're there right now. And I'm like, oh no, I was there like 3 weeks ago.
Right. Yeah.
Like, this is, you know what I mean? So I think it's important to also have perspective and understand that it is not all real life, because that's why I held off as a young girl. I was like, I don't know if I want to go through puberty with the world kind of watching and commenting and having opinions.
Yes.
So I ended up having it because I had an imposter who was pretending to be me. And to kind of prove that I was myself, I had to then make an official account. And that's how I ended up with social media as a whole. Because I was like, I think back to like the inspiration, actually. Like, my parents inspired me, but also other actors like Meryl Streep, and I really like Alicia Vikander right now. People like that, like, I got really wrapped up in their work and I liked watching their films, but I also never had any interest in like following anyone on social media. You know, I liked watching their work.
Yeah.
But those are my social medias, and I do, now that I have them, I do read comments, especially on Twitter and Instagram, and love to respond to comments.
Well, Lexi, thanks so much for coming on with us today. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, what a delight. What a little sweetheart you are. Boy, Nick, you got very quiet all of a sudden.
Well, that was the thing. You left me on one of the other interviews, and today I had to go pick up my kids, and it was just like I was watching the clock going, I better go or they're going to be stuck at their camp. So, yeah. Summer's busy. I mean, when the kids are around, it changes the dynamics of the show.
Well, and you know, with both of us being stay-at-home parents, you either get all, some, none, or we're in the process of picking some up. That's how this works.
Yep. So appreciate you finishing that interview. I can't wait to hear it.
Oh, and Lexi was such a sweetheart. I loved her.
Yeah, she was great.
Yeah.
What I heard.
Yeah. Super
So thanks,
cutie.
Lexi, for joining us on Fan Counters. Really appreciate the time that you took on your summer day off to do this with us.
Yeah.
All right, so we got another great show for you next week. So be here and stay tuned for more great things to come on Fan Counters on the Podfix Network. Don't forget to follow us online, Fan Counters Live on Twitter and Instagram. Our Facebook group is growing every day at Fan Counters on Facebook. And you can also email us if you've got a show idea, if you want to give us some feedback, if you want to let us know what we should do next. You can do that at
hello@fancounters.com.
That's going to do it for us.
We'll see you next time.
This was a podcast from the Podfix Network. You can check out more shows like it at podfixnetwork.com.